I don't know if you heard that or not, but that was a small sample of the awesome brass and cinematic kineticism of Kingdoms of Amalur: The Reckoning, a little game that launched back in 2012 from EA and Big Huge Games. Now, the game itself had a lot of controversy and legal battles attached to it, but that kind of stuff won't be covered here. What we're interested in is the music itself. And as you can hear, this is one brassy, energetic album that deserves to be in your collection, and it's cheap to boot. If you've spent any of your time watching my campaign diaries, chapter tips, or radio dramas for Hoard of the Dragon Queen, the music should sound pretty familiar. I've pulled a lot of tracks from this album to use as my intro music. And it's a type of music I find myself using on a regular basis when it comes to my D&D radio dramas. Kirkhope's albums have a good mixture of combat music, ambient pieces, and smaller introductory vignettes that make it perfect for the smaller moments that can happen in a campaign, or in my case, a radio drama. Kingdoms was composed by Grant Kirkhope and has a total of 35 tracks. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find a digital copy, so your best bet is on Amazon, where you can find the album for about $9.97 used and about $12 new. Still a great deal for a physical copy, but for whatever the reason, this is one of those soundtracks that hasn't been released in digital form. Except for its DLC soundtrack expansion, which you can find on Bandcamp of all things for a name-your-price deal. I picked it up just recently and paid about $5 for the album. Now, I can see myself using this music for personal radio dramas, but for the majority, unless you're an avid collector, I'd go ahead and skip it. For the purposes of this review, however, I'll mainly be focusing on the original album, but the additional content is available if you want to check it out. Now, let's talk about the main soundtrack. First up is the battle music. With the original album, you get 8 tracks, with the DLC album sporting you an additional 3, for a grand total of about 11. Again, this is a lot of battle music to add to your playlist, and this is pretty epic sounding stuff with, like I said, a lot of brass, which is by far the sweet spot of any orchestra. Besides the battle music, there are a few tracks here I'll highlight to give you an idea of how to use them, but again, I'm not going to break down the entire album because no one's got time for that, but here are a few standouts that might bring some energy and kineticism to your sessions. Track 5, great for an approaching enemy or a one-on-one combat with a large foe. Think of a paladin taking on a giant troll by himself, or a fighter defending his fallen comrades against a towering foe. It really makes for some great battle music. Track 6 has a strong mystical quality to it, best used as setting the scene for an ethereal environment such as, fairies in the wild, a crystal cavern the characters may enter, or even as an ambiance piece as your heroes engage with celestials or break bread with mystical creatures. Track 7. This is a short one, but I do like to have music that serenades a cliffhanger moment or that highlights a surprise during the final moments of a session. So this lends itself nicely to the closing of your game on a lighthearted moment. I have an example of this I'll show at the end that makes fairly good use of this track in one of my radio dramas. Track 9. Great music for a cavernous environment or deep, dark mines that players enter. Track 10 could easily be music that accompanies the characters resting and healing in a safe environment, or as an opening piece as players move into a new city, forest, or castle. Track 12 can be used to add a bit of mystery as the players are viewing or examining an ancient magic, rune, or even an old artifact. Track 25, appropriately named The Strongholds, is a nice companion piece as players meet new guilds, factions, warlords, or even take part in some kind of high-level council meeting. And finally, track 31, that is perfect for those moments when characters are entering an underground dwelling such as a cave, mine, or even the Underdark itself. Now, as always, there is so much more I could highlight, but this gives you a general idea on how to use and set up the music. In all, like the Dark Void album, this is another fairly well-balanced soundtrack that gives you a little bit of everything, and you can easily expand it when you purchase the DLC content. And since the DLC is name your own price, it should be an easy reach for any of those who want it. Now, to show you a bit of the music and context, here's a short piece, only a few seconds long, at the end of a radio drama I put together for Hoard of the Dragon Queen. In this small moment, a witch is holding council with a king as they discuss the fate of Greenus, which is, a small town in the campaign book, and the current predicament of the characters. There's a lot going on in this radio drama, and I don't want to spend 10 minutes giving you context. You can easily see that on my playlist if you want to go check it out, but you can easily hear how I used track 7 as an ending piece to set up the next scene in the radio drama. Let's go ahead and play it. I think there's something we can do.
Then do so. And in so doing, this must accompany them.
What is this?
A gift for the druid. Be sure it is delivered to her immediately.
Very well. It will be done. Balin turns to leave, content with the resolution. As she approaches the door, the comatose guard still napping, she pauses and peers over her shoulder.
do you plan to send?
Keegan removes his cape as he takes his seat at the throne. Have you ever met a GIF? A puzzled look washes over the face of Balin as Keegan looks at her with a smile. So there you have it. It was a nice, cheerful, upbeat cue that gave the scene a little lightheartedness and can easily do the same for your session, no matter what the scenario looks like. So that's it for this week, folks. Next week, we'll be looking at a soundtrack that is chocked full of combat music and, as an added bonus, is absolutely free. You'll want to pick this one up for sure. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.